be a light for you in dark places when all other lights go out.
Hey guys, this is DCHL Devin here, and welcome to another list analysis video. Now, if you guys haven't been here, this is where I analyze the top ranking lists at the Nova Open. This is a tournament where the comp restrictions are 800 points, and you can only have one faction with a list of exceptions. If you guys don't know what those exceptions are, you can of course go onto the DC Hobbit League page and the comp is there. So with that being said, we've already analyzed Damien O'Byrne and Tom Harrison, top ranking in the GBHL as far as the Nova Open was concerned. However, let's get into a list that actually got 12 out of 12 points in every single round. We're talking about James Clark. He actually had more victory points than his two companions who were at the top ranking. The only thing is he had to be paired against Tom in the last round and Tom knocked him down. But overall, James did fantastically. So let's see what kind of list gives you 12 out of 12. Now, keep in mind, before we go into this list, people, you have to understand there's more factors to list building, to winning a tournament than just simply your list. Your list is only really about 50%. The other 40 is about player skill and then 10% luck. Who you pair against and what terrain you're on really matter a lot. So ultimately, don't think you can just copy these lists and suddenly achieve winning results. But let's go right into it. So we have James Clark, 800-point Rivendell Knight Army. He has Saruman, all right? Now he's got, I believe, the upgraded Saruman. It's kind of hard to tell here. Yes, he's got, or actually no, it's only 160 points. So he's got the 150-point Saruman as his leader, and he's got him on horse. Then he's got Legolas, Prince of Mirkwood, on horse with Orcrist at 135 points. Both of these being legal, even though he's taking a Rivendell Knight army because they're in the exception list. So he's got both of those. Then he's got a Rivendell Knight Captain on horse with a shield. He's got 7 Rivendell Knights with shields. Then he's got a Rivendell Knight Captain again, but this time without a shield. And he's got 8 Rivendell Knights led by him, all armed with shields. He's got 19 models and 11 till he breaks. And then that's it. So how does a Rivendell Knight force really win? Now, ultimately, the best expert to answer that question would be James Clark himself, but he's in Britain. So I'm going to do my best to kind of analyze what he did here. So he took Saruman the White, obviously a nice utility magic hero, but why not Gandalf the Grey? Well, I asked actually some of the GBHL, and a lot of them were saying no one's really going, all shooty against Rivendell Knights. If you have a Rivendell Knight force, they're gonna outgun you. And even through my experience, yes, that is correct. They will outgun you if you try to have a shooting war with them. So really what he's banking on is the fact that his opponent is just gonna be shot to bits even if he tries it. So people shooting at him doesn't really concern him despite the vulnerability of losing his horses. So instead he chose a stronger, more aggressive combat wizard with a stronger range. That way he can harass units at a greater distance. This wizard is also highly well protected. Sure, Gandalf is more survivable as far as a general is concerned, but ultimately the goal is that his wizard isn't really going to end up in combat anyway, so there's nothing really here to worry about. Legolas, Prince of Mirkwood, adds a nice combat power while keeping Legolas' strength of shooting into combat, shooting at targets, valuable targets, stuff like that, and shooting 3 shots when necessary. Adding to his overall number of shots, remember guys, he has 100% bows. We're talking about 19 models, so 18 of them fire, and Legolas fires 3 shots on top of that. So, yeah, Legolas is a fine choice. He has Orcrist with him, giving him a nice terror buff. And also, if he happens to fight orcs, Uruk-hai, or, goblins, then he's doing just fine there too. So Legolas is his most expensive non-general model, which is still a very healthy option. That means he's still doing just fine on those missions where you got to assassinate the most expensive non-general. That if you look at the Nova missions, you'll know what I'm talking about there. Then after that, Rivendell Knights. So really what he's doing here is he's keeping a very aggressive game. I mean, he is able to keep you up at range, but he's playing a very aggressive force that is able to charge in, using Saruman to really disrupt ranks, and Legolas really helps out there. The Rivendell Knight Captains are no slouches. Fight 6, still very powerful. They can fight most heroes, even of a higher quality hero. And this is really where a lot of their oomph comes in. The lances, of course, on the charge, and that I believe is how he really is playing the list. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of finesse to this list. This is an expert player's list. You mess up with this list and one hurl is going to bring you down. So Fell Beast lists need to be handled with delicate care in this case. And keep in mind, James Clark went against 2 Radagast lists, which means that they had the capability to panic Steed and blast him to the ground. Evan Iverson and Adam Chandler both went up against James trying to do this, and James effectively spread out his forces or had captains in an area where he could resist the spell. So this is still very risky, though. Of course, you know the captains only have 1 will, but James managed to pull it all together, and his 12 wins, his 12 out of 12 wins for 4 games straight really speaks to that strength. Now, the scenarios did cater toward mobility, which is probably what allowed him to really help with this list, but it is by no means a surefire winning list. So that is James Clark's Rivendell Knight list. So let's go into the next one. We're talking about the 4th place at Nova Open, Canadian player Adam Chandler. Adam Chandler actually has a Radagast Alliance list. All right, so let's go ahead and look at it. First off, one thing to note, his army general is Galadriel, Lady of Light, which is actually a solid choice, very survivable, often in the back of the field. He has 0 bows. He has an army count of 7 models. Guys, he took 7 models to Nova Open and got 4th place. So this is still a solid list. Breakpoint of 3, 25% of 1. His highest costing non-general model is Radagast on Sleigh. So once again, very important note. So what exactly does this list entail? Well, it looks like he's got some White Council with Galadriel, Lady of Light. He's got Radagast on Sleigh, and he's got Erestor, or Erestor, I think is how you might pronounce it. And then beyond that, he has Gwahir leading 3 Great Eagles. And that's it. So what exactly is Adam trying to achieve here? Now, I've played against this list, and it's actually very powerful. Galadriel obviously affords a lot of that blinding light protection, can tear up ring rays when needed. She's just a solid support hero. And the thing is, when you have so few models that you need to fortify spirit on, they make them all ring wraith proof. So even if enemy ring wraiths are flying around, firing magic at them, or enemy wizards are flying around, then he can just make them wizard proof one at a time as he needs to. And this is a very good buff to have. Even if you don't have any of that, she's no slouch in combat. 3 attacks plus 6 fight value. She can absolutely attack and do her worst. I would try to avoid it if I were him, only because it's a nice general kill. She's only defense 3. 3 points of fate, sure, but only defense 3 definitely does cause problems. Next, we have Radagast on Sleigh. Radagast on Sleigh is a combat monster. All right, he is able to tear up infantry lines. So even if he goes up against, like, say, a Horde Gondor list, Radagast on Sleigh can actually do amazing work to them. And not only that, he's able to heal his eagles. So his eagles, as they're flying around, are already defense 8, 3 wounds apiece. And then anytime you manage to miraculously wound them, Radagast can just heal them right up at a 12-inch range. Plus, he moves 12 inches, which means he's never at a distance to heal those eagles. That is an insane combo. So it's a really nice buff. The eagles are just tossing around, causing massive hurls all over the place. 2 attacks isn't much to work with, but a majority of their fights are often going to win. Then you have Erestor. This is actually probably just a throw-in option. I imagine he's just there as kind of a bodyguard to Galadriel. He's really slow, so he can't keep up with the 12-inch move of the others, but he is able to just kind of be there for her. I think he just happened to have 70 points left over and just kind of sort of threw him in as another White Council member. Of course, Galadriel can buff him, make sure he's protected against ring wraiths, and he does pretty well. He re-rolls all his failed rolls to wound, so he can slaughter when need to. Now, how he probably played this, very finesse-like, obviously. I think he only threw in his eagles when he needed to. Notice he has very little might here. All right, and I say very little, even though Erestor and Galadriel have 6 mites on their own, the eagles move so much faster than them, and so does Radagast, that they are going to kind of outreach them. Now, the good thing about this list at Nova is that the deployment style of 3 different match types was actually to the death, which means that his army's kind of together anyway, but on 2 of the other matches, they're not like that. So it makes it much more difficult to protect messengers, much more difficult to keep them kind of focused as a cohesive unit. And that probably caused Adam some problems. However, in the 5th round, he won his match against a 3 Fell Beast, Shelob wielding with a bunch of orcs army. So apparently there's still a lot of merit to his army, even when he has to split them up. So yeah, guys, I really think this list, although surprising, it looks like it wouldn't be a solid winner. This list, 4th place, gave people a lot of problems. Panic Steed on Radagast really helps. Now, why not Radagast on Eagle? You already have Gwahir on Eagle. You already have the other Eagles. I think it's the lack of the staff. So ultimately, you're talking about he really wants to keep healing his eagles over and over and over again. So this is the reason he didn't pick the one on the eagle instead, because now he's spending that valuable will where he could be using Nature's Wrath, he could be using Panic Steed, he could be using Hour of Dismay. By the way, Hour of Dismay didn't talk about that, but that is not as helpful in this list, mostly because everyone already kind of has Terror. So, but I think Panic Steed and such, you'd want to make sure he can constantly keep firing out those spells. So I think Radagast on Slay takes the clear win here. Also, Radagast on Slay has far more many attacks, which allow him to go against infantry, blobs, a lot easier. So, all right, guys, that is my review of day 2 on list building. If you guys want, we are going into the next 2 lists. We're going to be talking about the Canadian 6th place winner and the British 5th place winner, talking about David Clubley and Joseph Hanlon. We're going to be going into their lists in detail, and we will show you guys, hey guys, what does it take as far as list building to win Nova and or any other tournament? And I hope we will see you guys very soon.